Hello, ladies and jelly spoons. Welcome to the Game Dojo. I'm your host, the Game Ninja, and welcome to Gamer Nation. Ladies and gentlemen, every once in a while, a game franchise comes along that defines the shape of gaming, that changes an aspect of it forever, and none of our lives are the same. This is few and far between in today's society, but back in my day, game changers came along all the time. In 1992, one such game changer changed the fate of the world, the rating system, and how we look at action fighting video games. That was Mortal Kombat. You see, ladies and gentlemen, before Mortal Kombat, when somebody lit you on fire in Street Fighter, you just got right back up and kept fighting. When you were playing Fatal Fury and you hit somebody with a super combo, and you may hit them with a power button or a power move, they got back up. You see, even though we know in real life these people would have gotten hurt, it was never illustrated to us. But then Ed Boon and John Tobias, came out with a game that when you set somebody on fire, oh, it's the end. They called these moves fatalities. And in our time, they were the most brutal things we had ever seen in the world. Now, by today's standards, Mortal Kombat now, their finishing moves are over extravagant and completely censored by YouTube because of the level of violence. But back in our day, it was kind of more cartoonish and animated, but it was still the most treacherous thing we had ever seen in our lives. When you walked into a arcade, you knew Mortal Kombat was being played because you can hear the music, you could hear the sound, you could see the people lined up around the cabinet. You seen the little white slips of paper and people putting their 50 cents on the screen to let you know that they got next. It was a different time. It was a great time to be alive. And who would think that such a game would birth an ESRB rating system for video games? They even held town councils and government meetings to shut this game down because of the violence of this game. Now, it didn't matter that Dirty Harry and Charles Bronson had blown away 75 people in the most probably violent movies we've ever seen in our entire life, and that RoboCop literally was a non-stop shot illustration of violence in Detroit, blowing people's balls off, melting people in acid. That is okay as long as it's not in a video game, because video games are thought of as children. Just children play video games. Well, in the 90s, after the 80s, they wanted to open the market to a different type of consumer. The people with the money who want to spend their money, they could spend it for more adult games. Now, the child games are still around, but they wanted you. They wanted an older demographic, an older community. That is where Mortal Kombat came in. This game changed the world and the face of gaming forever. Even to this day, the latest installment came out, I believe, 2 years ago, Mortal Kombat 1. But for us, it started really when we were able to take this gigantic arcade machine back to our home consoles. The day was called Mortal Monday, September 13th. And we had seen the previews, we had seen the commercials, and we were excited to take this game and put it on our home consoles. And let me tell you something, watching the commercial, playing the game, nothing could have ever made us feel different, because we were going to take this game and take it home. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I give to you the legacy of Mortal Kombat. But we're not here to debate the legacy of Mortal Kombat. We're here to finally settle the score. You see, back in the day, almost nobody had both systems. Well, at least in our neighborhoods. you either had a Sega Genesis or a Super Nintendo. So depending on what system you had, when this baby came to home consoles in 1993, Mortal Monday, you either got it on Sega Genesis or Super Nintendo. And between the two, there has always been a fight between gamers from this time period. Sega Genesis was better. It had the blood code. It didn't have the graphics, but it had the blood code. Super Nintendo has perfect sound, perfect voices, perfect characters, but no blood. And the finishing moves are different because they had to be censored. And it was argued by me because at the time, I had a Super Nintendo. Super Nintendo, the sound, the music, the visuals, to me was great. Matter of fact, Raiden's finishing move where he electrocutes you and blows your head off, to me still seems like the better finishing move. But back then, Nintendo had no blood, Sega Genesis had no sound. Now, after the years and years and years have gone by, I finally get to put this debate to an end because now Genesis has the sound and now Nintendo has the blood. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I want you guys to sit back and relax with your favorite bag of snacks and jump in on these Mortal Kombat game tracks because ladies and gentlemen, we're going to put an end to this debate today. Who reigned supreme when it came to Mortal Kombat coming on the scenes? Was it Sega Genesis or was it Super Nintendo? We're going to find out today with the definitive versions of the game. Super Nintendo with blood, Sega Genesis with sound, and better graphics. Now, we could... Let me turn you off there for a second. Now we could, this is cool, I love this thing. This little Mortal Kombat arcade machine is absolutely wonderful. Now, we could bring to you both versions coming from Super Nintendo or Sega Genesis. We're going to bring you both versions, but not the versions we were introduced to back in the 90s. Oh no. See, times have changed, technology have changed, and people have been able to change that Genesis, and they've been able to change that Super Nintendo. So right now, for your viewing pleasure, we're going to find out once and for all on both systems, and we're going to rate them accurately. We're going to do one, then the other, then we're going to come back together and finally break it down. Which console reigns supreme when it comes to Mortal Kombat? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is a first for me, and I'm glad to finally put this debate to rest. You guys are ready? As always, you have a co-pilot seat right here in the dojo with me. So I want you to sit back right by my side. I get the bashing, you get the thrashing, and we get to enjoy Mortal Kombat. Now, it ain't gonna be the last time we play Mortal Kombat on Sega Genesis or Super Nintendo, but I think it's time we finally dive in and see which console had the ultimate system version of Mortal Kombat. Now, we're not going to be doing Sega CD. We're not going to be doing Game Gear. We're not going to be doing Game Boy. We're not going to be doing none of the other representations that go with these games. Because at my time, you either had Super Nintendo or Sega Genesis. And that is where the battle began. That is where the arena was set. And that is where we are going to finish it today. So ladies and gentlemen, let's jump in finally to Mortal Kombat, the debate. Both of our competitors are here, Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis. But we got the versions we always dreamed of, we always wanted, and always wanted to play. Now, MAME is going to be the best because it's literally the arcade. But, as I said before, those aside, we're going to be jumping into just the two systems that were most popular at the time, that people talked about in schoolyards, fought about in the backyards, and when people came over to your house, no, Genesis is better, no, Super Nintendo is better, Genesis is better, Super Nintendo is better. Now, I remember Super Nintendo's music being better, but now they fixed that on the Genesis version. I remember Genesis having the blood, but now they fixed that on the Super Nintendo version, and Super Nintendo has blood. I already have a favorite in mind now, but back then I was Team Super Nintendo. It's what I had. It's what my mom bought me. It's what we were rocking on. Now, my dad had the Sega Genesis, so when I went over his crib, I busted Mortal Kombat on Sega Genesis. I knew one day that Sega Genesis would be mine, and that Mortal Kombat would be mine, but I never got a chance to compare the two. And as life goes on, things changed. But today is the time. Now is the hour. We're getting down with this Power Hour. And in this gaming Power Hour, yes, baby, we have the Ring of Power. Can't be sour. We even had to kick it up a notch and got the Infinity Stones. That's right, baby. So we got the Infinity Stones on hand. We got the Ring of Power, the precious, the One Ring on hand. And we have Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo, and Mortal Kombat in my hand. Let's do it. Now, if you were wondering where we're coming from, well, ladies and gentlemen, I could tell you that, but I'd have to kill you. But I will say we're going to go over to my wall right here. Come with me. Yeah, a lot of pain. It's okay. We're coming over to my Sega Genesis wall right here. To flick my light on for a second. I love that. And over here, Sega Genesis, right here, we have. Let's pull it off the wall. Don't you love it? I know I do. So we have the Sega Genesis on standby. Now, my Super Nintendo cartridge is dilapidated, but I do have it on the Mini. So, let's do it. All right, ladies and jelly spoons, we have the channel turned to the right station, and we are going to start with Sega Genesis. Okay? Blood code. Down, up, left, A, right, down, dullard. You always could do dullard. Alright, everything else is on. We're cool. Now I know what you're saying. Rain, that looks exactly like the game I played back in the day. Because you're right. Would not be a comparison video if I didn't do the original, right? Exactly. Now let's take a look at Sega Genesis enhanced version of Mortal Kombat. You ready? Ladies and gentlemen, Sega Genesis Mortal Kombat Arcade Edition. I'm gonna just let this roll and stew a little bit so you can see this. Yeah, I got the little one running on standby too. I know y'all can see that one, the little mini arcade. Hear the sound? Hear the voice? Yes. The voices are now up in here. Full sound, full music, everything is everything is there. Boom boom. Let's jump right in, baby. Let's jump right in. Look at that. You got dip switches, dip set. Mortal Kombat Arcade Edition. Let's jump in. Let's have some fun. Y'all hear the sound? You hear the sound? Look at the characters now. Oh yeah. By the way, we are still busting with our Sega Genesis 3-button controller because this is the arcade edition on Sega Genesis. Do you see the difference? Do you feel the difference? Do you hear the difference? Do you hear the difference? Do you see the difference? Do you feel the difference, ladies and gentlemen? Ladies and gentlemen, this is the revamped, amped up, infused, Gatorade thrusted version of Mortal Kombat. This is the version we should have gotten on Sega Genesis. I friggin' love technology. This is the version that we should have gotten on Sega Genesis home console. And the fact that they had to come out with a cartridge so many years later that actually gave us what we wanted. Whew. One more match.
Scorpion wins.
Meow, meow.
Fatality.
Ladies and jelly spoons, boys and girls, it's got sound, it's got blood, it's got the fatalities, it's got the voices, it's got the music, And in case you were wondering, every single last problem I had was audio when it came to the Genesis version. But now with the arcade version, the audio is there. The blood is there. The sound is there. I want you guys to take a listen. Don't take my word for it. I want you to take a listen to the Sega Genesis pit stage music-wise. We gonna get down. We gonna get down. Like I said, we gonna hit everything on the bar. So let's get down. Hold on 1 second. Sega Genesis, the pit. Tell me this shit ain't killing it. Listen. They probably gonna give me a copyright for this, but I don't give a shit. Ooh, no, no. Super Nintendo, y'all can't fuck with this. I'm sorry. Yo, that shit is funky. Yo, I don't care. This bumps up Sega Genesis 10 points, 10 full points for only audio. Period. Now, one more. The Hall or the Throne, Sega Genesis. Sega Genesis, yo. What the fuck? Sega Genesis. Sega Genesis. Yo. 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 Alright, I'm kind of geek boner right now. Now remember, this is coming from a straight Nintendo person. You've seen the dojo. You know I'm Team Nintendo. I've represented since 1985. I've been Nintendo. Super Nintendo was my system. I didn't rock with Genesis. My dad had Genesis. Sooner or later I got it, but I was a Super Nintendo kid. I was 100% Super Nintendo for the win, sound-wise. But now that they got that Sega Genesis arcade version, let's break this down. Graphics, 9 out of 10. I'll be full 100. Sound, 10 out of 10. Music, 10 out of 10. Blood, 10 out of 10. Voice, 10 out of 10. Structure, 10 out of 10. That only leaves 1 point of error for the Sega Genesis version. 1 point of error. You saw it here, you saw it live. Now, it's time to jump into Super Nintendo's version, Mortal Kombat. Alright? You ain't gonna believe this, what we got for you. So let me unplug the Genesis, get the Genesis off, and hook the Super Nintendo up, and we gonna roll from there. Give me 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. Alright, ladies and jelly spoons, y'all ready for this one? Let's do it. Super Nintendo. gotta give it a 10 for this, just the menu music. I always love Super Nintendo's menu select music. Graphics is nice and clean, sprites is nice and tall, everything looked pretty good. Voice, Scorpion. Now there was always lag, input lag when you played this game. So if you press B or a button, it may respond later, sometimes up to almost 2 seconds later. Like it's a lot of lag. But let's roll it. I forgot the buttons. You can hear me clicking the buttons. I'm sorry about that. That's because I have to tap each button like 3 times. All right. Damn it! I wanted to finish Johnny. I wanted to finish Johnny, but it's all right. We gonna get that finishing move off. Damn it, Kano. Damn, Kano! And he actually down here on the screen with the victory pose. Damn, let me find out Kano giving me some trouble today. But then again, it's Super Nintendo on Super Nintendo controllers. Damn it! See, the punches keep going. Even though I stopped pressing the button, the punches keep going. That input lag is killer on Super Nintendo. I gotta take away some points for that input lag. It always angered me. All right, come on, let's see if we can get this. A yee papa yay! Can somebody tell me what the hell a yee papa yay is? That's all I need to know. What the hell is a yee papa yay? Finally, I was able to pull off the finishing move. Oh crap! Ah, forgot what buttons to press. Forgot what buttons to press. I nutted on the wood. It's alright. Pause. Pause. Big pause. Big pause. Alright. That was Super Nintendo. Frustratingly, I have a problem with the input lag. Now, the Genesis only had 3 buttons, so the Nintendo did have the right buttons: high punch, high kick, low punch, low kick. It did have the arcade buttons, but the input lag is frustrating. Genesis may have only had 3 buttons that doubles as, you know, all the buttons, but there was significantly less input lag when it came to doing a move on Genesis than when it came to the Super Nintendo. So that is a takeoff. The input lag is a huge takeoff. I love the sound. I love the graphics. Now let's take a look at the enhanced version of Super Nintendo Mortal Kombat. Oh yeah, we're going there. Now, the good people at Mugen made this one. This is a SNES upgrade. To me, it looks more like a MAME clone. I do like that they have like the generated videos. I do like they have everything looks arcade. So I wouldn't really call this a Super Nintendo port at all. I mean, it even has like the credit system with coins and everything. But I had to include it because I love the way it looks. The way it looks and the way it sounds. Okay. Okay, so in any comparison test, you need a control. So I decided to log a control for you. This is Mortal Kombat. This is the control. Do you guys know what version this is yet? Think about the sound, think about the look. Think about literally the Mortal Kombat commercial at the beginning of the game, which I'm probably going to be gigged for anyway. Loading. Really, guys? Nothing? Really, guys? Nothing yet? You guys have nothing? Really? Really nothing, guys? Nothing? No, not yet? Really, guys? Nothing? You guys got nothing?
Wins.
Absolutely nothing you guys got? Literally nothing, guys? I'll tell you at the end of this next match if you haven't guessed it by now. If you haven't guessed this version, I will tell you at the end of this match. This is actually really good. They just left out certain key things like audio. Yeah, the music just cuts right out. So if you couldn't guess, this version is Mortal Kombat 1 on Sega CD. This is Sega CD. So, as I said, when it came to Sega, this version was better than the original Genesis, but less than, I think, the Super Nintendo graphics and sound-wise. But the Genesis new version, the arcade version, is better than the Sega CD by fathoms on every bar metrics. Did you see my spear cancel out his electric and his electric cancel out my spear in 2 different occasions? Boom, boom. Let the record show I did break wood up in this piece for this. I did break wood up in this piece. Let the record show. Let the record show. So, ladies and jelly spoons, children of all ages, we are talking about Mortal Kombat and all the renditions from Mortal Monday. back in 1993, I believe. In 92, it came out in arcades. I think it came out in the home consoles a year later. So I would say 93. Anyway, Mortal Kombat. It has been argued by me 30-something years ago that Super Nintendo reigned supreme and standed tall in hell when it came to Mortal Kombat being a home port, both in graphics, sound, finishing moves. I would say some of them. I don't know about the Johnny Cage, I stick my foot in your chest thing. I don't know why you couldn't just uppercut his head off. To me, it's more violent to put your foot in somebody's chest and like stab their heart with your foot rather than just uppercutting their head off. I mean, Raiden's electricity move literally exploded somebody's head off. Great move. Great move. But back then, I was privy to Super Nintendo, so I said Super Nintendo was the best. I had so many arguments with people back and forth. Even my brother Phil, we was talking about the Genesis sound like they playing it on paper cups. It sounded like they was actually playing it on paper cups. There was no finishing them. The screen just turned dark. When you hit somebody, everybody made the same sounds. Like even if you burned a woman, it was like, oh. At least Super Nintendo, when you burned somebody with Scorpion and she was a girl, she went, oh. She made sounds. But aside, back then, I was 100% partial to Super Nintendo. Hands down, even though they didn't have the finishing moves and the blood, to me, Super Nintendo was the better experience. Now, as years progressed, technology progressed, and Genesis arcade version came out for Sega Genesis. It changed my opinion on just what the Genesis was capable of. Having said that, there is a new king that reigns supreme here in the Game Dojo. I will go back on my word. Sega Genesis, the arcade version, is the definitive Mortal Kombat 1 edition for me between Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis. Even though Super Nintendo got blood now, the moves are the same. The finishing moves are the same. All they missing was blood. But now the blood is just like red sweat. Genesis, however, has come up with the sound, the visuals, the blood, literal arcadeness. And like I said, MAME aside, or Mugen aside, the undisputed king of Mortal Kombat is now Sega Genesis. And by the way, the version you see on this mini arcade right here, this is Sega Genesis version. This is the Sega Genesis version. It's not the arcade version, which I would love to put on that, but the visuals, the pictures and everything, this is Sega Genesis version. And let me see, can you see that? Can you guys see that clearly? Yeah, let me see. Yeah, you see, look at the clearness, the crispness, and the graphics. Now, this is a mini screen and a mini ROM version of Mortal Kombat, but even they were able to get it correct in such a way that visually, this is better than Super Nintendo. And this was made way after and smaller, but this visually is better than Super Nintendo by far. So ladies and gentlemen, there it is, boys and girls. You were wondering who holds the belt here in the Game Dojo. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Sega Genesis. Hands down, Sega. I once donned you as my huge enemy. I literally disliked anybody who had the Sega Genesis. I loved Mario Kart. I loved Mario World. I liked Sonic too. I love Sonic. But I was back and forth over the fence. And today, I celebrate both systems. But clearly, one system today reigns supreme. And that is the Sega Genesis, ladies and gentlemen, here in the Game Dojo for Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat, Sega Genesis. You are the victor. Ladies and gentlemen, there it is. And an all-out fight and a brawl to win it all between Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, Sega won the Mortal Kombat War. So while there may be many fights and many games here in the Game Dojo to see who will reign supreme, console over console, to take it all, winner takes all, one fall. In this battle, the Battle of Mortal Kombat 1. Mortal Kombat 2 is another story. So is Mortal Kombat 3. We ain't gonna speak about Mortal Kombat 4. But Sega Genesis, Sega, the Sega Mega Hour, reigns supreme over Super Nintendo. Let's put Sega on top of Super Nintendo right there. Get that visual. You get that visual. And Mortal Kombat was the game, the arcade arena that these two systems, these two great systems, threw down in the ring. But unfortunately, here in the Game Dojo, only one can reign supreme. So I'm going to ask Super Nintendo to collect your controllers and exit the dojo. Sega Genesis is the victor. Till next time, guys, I'll see you in the Game Dojo with hopefully another battle, another game to reign supreme here in the dojo. Mortal Kombat 1, y'all. Literally the game changer for fighting games forever. I leave you with the commercial for Mortal Monday, September 13th. I'll check you guys next time. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, say it with me one time. Mortal Kombat!